Emphatic win for Arsenal, dominant from start to finish. Eddie Nketiah steps up with a big hat trick for him. His first 3 shots on target, all 3 hit the back of the net. It was a professional, an exhilarating, a much needed top-class performance from Arsenal this afternoon as they close the gap on Tottenham Hotspur at the top of the league, just like the North London rivals. Put that pressure now upon Manchester City ahead of their big game against Manchester United tomorrow. And it is the type of performance that we know, especially against the teams that are seen as smaller, lesser, bottom half of the table sides. It's the type of performances Arsenal fans have been asking for all season, to blow the team away, to give them very little chance, not just to control the ball, not just control the territories, but when you get opportunities to be clinical. And Sheffield United have shown this season in their games against Tottenham, games against City, games against Manchester United, they can be hard to break down at times. A very low block, very compact, very hard to move about. And what Arsenal did impeccably well today is they didn't panic. The first 20, 25 minutes was a little disjointed. It was a little hard to find the spaces. But what they did, we saw Spurs do it last night. Chelsea struggled to do it today, but Arsenal just kept on chipping away. And they waited for the opening, and it came from a brilliant, a delicious, in fact, cross from Declan Rice. Nketiah's first touch is out of this world, and he finishes it in the bottom corner. And then you saw even more relaxation set in. The ball was moving quicker. The Arsenal fans really believed in what it was they were doing. And the beginning of the second half, again, I thought Arsenal started well, and they get that second goal very quickly. Yes, it was slightly fortuitous in terms of the corner and how it fell to Eddie Nketiah, but he was the fox in the box. He puts the ball into the back of the net, and that's all she wrote. The game was then, in my opinion, out of sight. Eddie Nketiah, 8 minutes later, completes his hat trick with an absolutely sumptuous goal. It isn't just a great strike. The control, the turn, finding the space, and then burying it into the top corner to put the game beyond doubt. This then enables the substitutions to come in, the Ben Whites and the Martinellis to get some rest. Bukayo Saka came off early as well with over 20 minutes of the game, including injury time. He came off with nearly 30 minutes of the game to go. And then towards the end of the match, Arsenal put the icing on top of the cake with Fabio Vieira winning the penalty and scoring it. And then Tomiyasu, who I think will find himself, he'd have been disappointed not to have started today with his recent form, gets that goal very late in the game, just to add the shine to it, in which I think the performance from Arsenal demonstrates. Now, we know Arsenal are a dangerous team. We know Arsenal haven't even found top gear yet this season. I've understood the criticism at times from their fans this year, but my personal belief has been they will find their top form at some point. To not have it in the first 9 to 10 games, for me personally, is nothing to stress about when you've seen the qualities and consistencies in last season, when you've seen the development of this squad over the past 3 to 4 years. And that, for me, was a top-class performance, but it's a demonstration of what is still to come from this side. What I also think Arsenal fans should be proud of today is the fact that we know they're title contenders, in my personal opinion anyway. I think a lot of you believe that as well. Today demonstrated the form that could come out of them. But certain players were dropped today, and rightfully so. There is always these claims from Arteta's detractors that he'll never drop Martinelli. He did today. He'll never sub Saka off early. He did today. And I think that there was good rotation. Gabriel Magalhaes starting on the bench. A lot of people, why? Did you really need him to win this game? No. That rotation wasn't there enough last year. And I think that's where Arteta has learned from his mistakes. I think Arsenal started the season off slower than last year by design, and there is more rotation by design. This, in my opinion, will yield dividends later on in the season. And I think the other area and final area today in which the Arsenal fans should be feeling somewhat confident about is their start to the campaign. It is 3 points worse off than last year, but less goals conceded. And I think they're only scored one goal less. And yes, they are, on paper, 3 points worse off. But after 10 games, being on 27, being on 24, it's still phenomenal. It's still phenomenal. And no matter what happens tomorrow, they will at least be level with the title favourites in Manchester City. A lot of people didn't believe that Arsenal could get themselves into the same or even a similar position that they found themselves in last year. And all those things together is why I think Arsenal fans should be not just over the moon with this win and the performance, but players are being dropped and rotated as you asked. The play was better today. You scored more goals today. You were more clinical as you demanded. The start to the season has been almost as good as it was last year. But when you factor in you're playing Champions League football and you're through to the next round of the League Cup, the Arteta detractors who state that we want to win every competition, this is a better start than last year. Yes, there's areas to pull on. Yes, there is areas to criticize because there always is with any team. Even the great sides, you can find bits that you want to improve on. But overall, 10 games into the Prem, 3 games into the Champions League, 1 game into the League Cup. It's been a phenomenal start for Arsenal. It's why I say they're dangerous. It's why they're a team that rivals should fear from a competitive point of view. And this notion, this poppycock, that they were a one-season flash-in-the-pan wonder, I think is wrong. And a few people saying, well, why can you say Arsenal are in the title race and not Tottenham? Watch my match reaction last night. The title race hasn't begun yet, but I believe Arsenal will be there. There's a fundamental difference there. So I believe they will be title contenders, if you want me to reword it so that it doesn't hurt feelings. But that's my belief based on almost 2 years of seeing Arsenal's improvement and them getting to this level. There is a body of work that says they can compete for the title. In terms of performances, listen, Eddie Nketiah, top class today. No doubt about it whatsoever. We saw that with the goals. I know Arsenal fans will say, though, they want more, and I think they're right to say that. Celebrate the hat trick. Praise the hat trick. Well done, Eddie. However, and there is a however here, he needs to start scoring more regularly. He can't just get a hat trick today and then dine out on that for 10 matches and barely score again. He has to push on from this point. Whether he can do that or not is another question. I thought defensively, again, very, very, very solid today from Arsenal. I don't even want to praise anybody in their defense because I felt that it was just relatively untroubled, but very comfortable. But I do want to praise Zinchenko. Because of the low block that Sheffield United played, it was the right choice, the absolute right and correct choice to play Zinchenko over Tomiyasu because they had to move the ball. And in fact, you go look at Zinchenko's heat map. He basically plays the number 10 today. Tomiyasu doesn't have the technical ability to do that. So that was a tactical piece of genius from Mikel Arteta. But I also want to shout out Declan Rice today again, because for me, some will say it's only Sheffield United, but it isn't about it only being Sheffield United. It's about the consistency, genuinely the consistency of Declan Rice this season. Whether it's been against Manchester City, whether it's been against Champions League teams home and away, whether it be against the cannon fodder, in games where I have seen good quality Arsenal midfielders, good quality midfielders in the Premier League, kind of go missing at times. This man's consistency this season has been nothing short of spectacular, considering he's the record British signing. And a lot of top money signings in Premier League history have failed to live up to the expectation and the pressure that surrounds it. And it was another, for me, day where he proves his world-class ability. Proves it again today. Not because it's against Sheffield United, who, by the way, 1 minute people say there's no easy games in the Prem. The next minute, when you praise a performance against a team like Sheffield United, they say, I do Sheffield United. He's done it against so many teams, good, but he isn't just somebody that rises up for the big games. He isn't just somebody that does it against a small team. So far this season, Declan Rice is doing it against everybody. And by the way, he was doing it against everybody in a West Ham team. This is an absolute phenomenal player. A phenomenal player that Arsenal have gone and purchased. And they should be very, very proud indeed of what he is doing. And he starts a life at Arsenal. But as I say, this was an emphatic, dominant, professional performance from Arsenal today. A clear demonstration of what is to come from this team this year. Now, you may be someone that doubts Arsenal. You may be somebody that doubts Arteta. And that's entirely up to you. I think it's absolutely right to have criticized previous performances and elements of it. But my belief stays the same as the beginning of the season. I believe by design, Arsenal have started off in a lesser gear, at a slower pace. They had dropped beginning of the season. There was whinging about who was starting. Today, more rotation. These are things that I believe will pay dividends come April and come May, as and when Arsenal were in this title race. There'll be more energy in the legs. There'll be more fitness in this squad. And it means if they're in that title race, they have a bigger chance of winning the Premier League, which is what all these games now are about. That foundation, that springboard to put you into that home straight later on down the campaign. By the way, people, make sure like buttons are being smashed. Make sure you are subscribing to the Football Terrace as well. And I know the Real Madrid game, a lot of people have been interested in that. I'm sure that people will be here. Jude Bellingham with a brace to win that game away from home at the Camp Nou. I will say this, I know it's not we don't cover them on the channel unless it's Champions League, but I haven't seen the goals or anything, but I'm just saying it now. Everyone knows how important I think goals are. What a player Jude Bellingham is. What a player Jude Bellingham is. This guy, to be a midfielder, to go to Spain and to do this. And I'm going to say this as an Englishman as well. So many of our top talents in the UK have gone abroad and absolutely flopped, especially when they've gone to the big boys. What he is doing is absolutely, for a midfielder, that 10 La Liga games and he's got 10 goals as a midfielder. I know some of them are tap-ins, but goals are goals. You can't discredit them. What a man he is. Superchats here says, I hope this hat trick will bring more confidence. I'm sure it will bring more confidence for Nketiah. I do. Fluidity back today. Mikel Arteta spot on. Great performance. Yeah, I think he was. Kane did a Beckham versus... Yes, he did. I saw he got a hat trick today. They won 8-0. It's a crazy game, actually, looking at... I can't wait to watch the highlights of that later. But yeah, I saw that goal from Kane. Eddie Nketiah, hat trick before Rashford. Also, Odegaard. No Odegaard 5-0, not missed. Look, I do think Odegaard needs a rest or being dropped. So I do think he needs that. But I don't become hyperbolic with it. You're still going to need Odegaard many, many, many more times this year. In terms of a hat trick before Rashford, yeah, fair play. Well done to him. Like he done really well. I'm not going to use it as a stick to beat one of my players over the head with, though, but thank you. Maybe it's my Asian bias, but I am tired of Lee and Brandon's saying Tomiyasu is not good enough. Game over. Now do us a favor and beat City tomorrow. Look, I've never understood the criticism of Tomiyasu. He doesn't really pass the eye test, but again, I think defensively he's nearly always perfect. Yes, he's had mistakes. Yes, he's done things wrong, but so's Maldini, so's Jaap Stam, and they're the best of the best of the best. So I think Tomiyasu gets nowhere near the credit that he deserves. 1, for his quality, 2, for his versatility. And yeah, I was happy that he got... Look, I'm not an Arsenal fan, but I was happy for him that he got his goal today. I feel like his performances recently have deserved it. Arsenal's defense impressive. Teams aren't going to get a sniff. Yes, even on the counter today, they absolutely stopped everything. Genuinely today, on that counter, everything, they stopped absolutely everything. Bellingham owning the Camp Nou. Yeah, it's full time there as well, I think now. This kid just goes from strength to strength to strength to strength to strength. And fair play to the young man. Time to bring my panel out now to have... What the hell is Jason wearing? Oh, my God. Are you dressed as a fucking burrito? Oh, my God. Listen, people, hit like buttons. Make sure you're subscribing to the Football Terrace. And Jason, what are you wearing?
Oh, it's Halloween night out, actually. So it's like, I'm just dressed as a taco. We got the stuffing in, Sheffield United stuffing, the Eddie and Nketiah sauce. It's around there. So it's all right. It's all right. I'm getting there. Good day today. So yeah,
mate. Listen, that will come to you in a few moments. I like the outfit, but it's Halloween though, bro. You're meant to wear scary things. And we're not American here.
Fancy dress.
Oh, no, it's meant to be scary stuff. But Egal, an emphatic performance from your boys today. Talk to me.
We need more like this. We need more like this. We need more. I'm happy. Eddie Nketiah, that third goal just shows the confidence that he grew during the game, because he would have never taken that chance a couple games ago. He would have never taken that chance if he didn't have the 2 goals already. And you know what? Mikel Arteta taking Martin Odegaard out of the team and the team still performing well shows the rotation. Gabriel Magalhaes taken out of the team. KVR didn't really look like we needed any defensive issues today. Like, they didn't cause any problems. And you know what? Everyone's going to sit here and say, oh, Sheffield United. You want to know something? Yes, they're bottom of the league, but this is the same Sheffield United that Manchester United beat 2-1. Man City beat 2-1, and Tottenham beat 2-1. Much closer games. We put them to the sword today. We scored 5 goals, and this was very needed, Terry. The reason why I'm saying we need more is because that goal difference is now top of the league with Newcastle. We're 1 goal off Newcastle, and just like that, we've gone up there. Chance creation, we created 3 big chances today. I don't think we've had another game where we created 3 big chances this season, and I'm just very happy with the performance. Now, there is some questions. One, Emil Smith-Rowe, it's his first game back. He's going to need some time to get himself going, but it's very positive to see that. Declan Rice and Eddie Nketiah. Thank you, Chelsea, for giving us Eddie Nketiah, and of course, not going and signing your academy graduate back in Declan Rice. 2 Chelsea academy graduates performing for Arsenal. Love to see it. And yeah, that's pretty much it, Terry. Another game where we do our job, get it done, and I'm just moving on to the next game. And I'm happy that the rotation is working. And you know what, Terry, you always say that you bring up this point with Eddie Nketiah. Whenever he does something like this, I get overgassed. It's not that I'm getting overgassed. I'm just happy to see him performing well. And I'm happy to see a player who gets a lot of criticism for when he doesn't do well, showing up today after Jesus getting injured and everyone giving him a standing ovation at the Emirates. Moments like this, you got to be happy for the guy.
Of course I am. Listen, I like to see young players do well. Everyone's a young player to me now. I'm an old man, but I like to see players do well. My only kind of additional outside of praising what Eddie Nketiah did today is now score more. What I'm saying is he can't dine out on this hat trick for 10 more games without producing and scoring. He's got to do more of it because the team winning is more important than supporting Eddie. But he's proven today he can score screamers. The first goal, the shot was a tap-in, but the skill before it made it happen. The second goal was a dirty, scrappy goal. He's demonstrated he can do that. It's now about Eddie, go and do it more regularly. No one's expecting Haaland numbers, but maybe, scoring 1 in every 2, 1 in every 3 games in the Premier League, and suddenly that £150,000 a week contract, he's paying it back tenfold.
And you want to know something, Terry? People were kind of overreacting because our poor performances came against Tottenham and Chelsea and in the Champions League versus Lens. Now, they've come in quick succession. Now that our fixtures have turned and we're going to be facing some of these smaller teams, we need to batter them like we did today against Sheffield United. I need to see more offensive performances like this because in order for us to win the league, our defense and our midfield can be good. But if we don't have the goal tally up and we don't have that, we don't start scoring and creating more chances, we're going to struggle in these kind of games where when these teams have better defenses and they play better low blocks and they shut down that defensive end. Today, we created a lot of chances and we finished those chances. We need to see more from it. I am not leaving this game saying this is what we're going to be every single game, but we need to see more performances like this going forward.
I agree. Gunnar Souls, thanks, Egal. We'll speak to you again in a second. You've been very critical of some of the performances this season, and I understand why. Is today exactly what you want to see?
100%. I mean, I asked Arteta, you need to trust your process. I asked for Odegaard to be dropped or be benched or whatever, rested, whatever word you want to use. And he did it. He had the kahunas to actually go, do you know what? He's my captain. He's my talisman. But you know what? He's not been performing. I'm going to drop him. Like we said, trust your squad. This is now your team, your 25-man squad, whether it's from renewals, whether you bought the players or you've given them big numbers. Eddie Nketiah, the number 14, ESR being given the number 10. Being given big contracts, big offers coming in for ESR being rejected. This is the moment where you spend £65 million on a player. You've got to go and swap your captain out for that player because it's significant money in this market. And he said, you know what, Kai Havertz, I trust you to go and do that role. And today we won 5-0. And this is why I keep telling people it's about keeping your foot on the team. And it's about making sure that the pressure is alleviated from this club because we are in an upward trajectory and we do want to go win the league. But that's not going to happen if we just, paper over all the cracks that we've got. Today is exactly what I wanted to see. Sheffield United were there for the taking. And guess what? We absolutely banged them for one. 5-0. You couldn't ask for more. And that's exactly what we need to see continuing moving forward. Goal difference, I know a lot of people laugh at it, but look at this season. There's about 4, 5, 6 teams at this stage in the season, 10 games in, that are in contention for a league title. I know a lot of them probably will drop off and it'll come down to maybe 2 or 3 teams, but we've never seen this many teams start off so well. So any fine margins that we can get out of it, whether it's, goal difference, whether it's just points over our rivals, you need to take everything you can because Man City, look, They've got Manchester United tomorrow. Now, a lot of people are going to sit there and write United off and go, nah, City will definitely win that game. But it's a Manchester derby. Mad things have happened. 2-1 last season. Yes, you got battered in the first leg. But this is where we need to put a statement out for Man City to be like, we've got to win this game. There is nothing but a win. And that can throw off your opponents as well. So that's what we did. We showed a statement and more of this. Trust your squad. Trust your process. And if we can continuously see this, that you're playing your players on merit. And also, he's learned from last season. Because what he did last season was he played the exact same 11 every single week. And when it really mattered, when we had those injuries, players like El Neni, players like Rob Holding, players like Kuyo were coming in cold. They hadn't played for like months on end. They didn't have proper footballing minutes. And they would just be expected to go out there and compete in the business end of the season. This year, he's making them warm. He's giving them consistent minutes. And he's rotating the squad out. So that when we need them, they're going to be ready. And that's exactly what I want to see. We've got West Ham coming up. We've got, Champions League football. So, yeah, I can't really complain today. And on Eddie Nketiah, fair play to you, but I want to see it more. You've come off a 5-game drought. You've scored a hat-trick. Let's see what you do moving forward. Because I've always said it, this guy has 2 or 3 good games, and then he drops off again. So I need to see consistency. That's my only criticism of him. It's not his goal-scoring ability. It's how consistent he can keep it.
Mate, I totally get where you're coming from. I think you're right to demand that as those standards keep rising. And Jason, you're another lad who's you want Arsenal to do well. You've been critical of things recently. What did you make of that performance this afternoon? And do you think it's maybe a bit of a turning point in terms of the performance levels as opposed to just the results for Arsenal?
I wouldn't say to put a turning point for the performance, but I mean, like you said last week with that super chat, like in terms of do players need to be dropped in terms of Odegaard and stuff like that. I mean, fair play to Mikel Arteta. Odegaard has been dropped, and that is one of his favorites as well. So I mean, he shows that kind of his ruthless side to it. And I felt like the fringe players coming in, like Kivior, the likes of Emil Smith-Rowe coming in as well. It seems a bit refreshing. I know Sheffield United, but I was a bit wary in terms of why are we kind of rotating heavily, but at the same time, the boys has actually delivered. And fair play to Eddie Nketiah with his hat trick, wonderful hat trick itself. I felt like he should be building that with his confidence as well. And I felt like, in terms of it was really comfortable, and we should be blitzing teams. We have Newcastle next. I know it's going to be tough as well. So in terms of that, we should be a little bit more controlled, because they will absolutely spank us if we going kind of home. But with the likes of Wolves coming up, Brentford coming up, we should be blitzing these teams, man. And I want to add a little bit more goals into the side as well. So.
Yeah, I think that the point you raised, Gunnar Souls, about goal difference is key, because if you're in a narrow title race, but you've got a better goal difference, it's an extra point. It's essentially an extra point. So you have to look at it. And I was texting a few of my mates that they're not on socials, and they're sort of talking about the game, and they're like, great, we're 3-0 up, but I want 5, I want 6. And we're all sort of like bantering and having a bit of a laugh about it, but they went and did it, and it's needed. It's absolutely needed. Brandon's here with us. Welcome back to the show, mate. A much better day, a much better outing today. I want to get your views on your and thoughts around Arteta's rotation, making those changes, early substitutions, things that you've been very critical of him of in recent weeks and times.
Yeah, man, big up Arteta. Big up Arteta. Me and Souls was, on here last week saying that we need to drop at Odegaard, and it seems like the manager's obviously taken note. Obviously he does, kind of know what he's doing, because, one thing that we can always complain about Arteta with is sometimes not playing players based on merit, and dropping players when they deserve to be dropped. And according to some Arsenal fans, Rory, if you wanted Odegaard dropped, you're a negative. You're a Lee Gunner's son. So maybe Arteta's Lee Gunner's son. Who knows? But anyway, on that, on that, you have to credit the manager. But at the end of the day, it's Sheffield United, and we showed them lot down the road. Yeah, Spurs, the league champions after 9 games, how to actually destroy Sheffield United and not get away with a lucky 2-1 win. Do you know what I mean? And Eddie Nketiah today, I'm very critical of this guy. He was head and shoulders our best player today, even before he scored the goals. His movement was excellent. He was creating space for the likes of Zinchenko, the likes of, you know, Martinelli, Saka. And the first goal was all about his touch. His touch was really, really good in that area. If you don't get your touch right, you don't get the opportunity to score the goal. The second goal, again, it's all about being in the right place. A bit fortunate that it comes to him from the corner, but you know, again, he could quite easily have just smashed that against one of their players that were on the line. Instead, he found the corner. And then the third goal, right? I didn't think he had that in his locker, to be honest with you. But that first touch out of his feet and then, you know, rocket from about 30 yards out in the top corner, placement as well. Everything about Eddie Nketiah's performance today was what you want to see from your number 9. Do I still think Arsenal need a striker? 100%. 100%. Because the thing is, Eddie Nketiah, he has moments like this, but he can't do it consistently. And even Jesus, you know, Jesus is not a consistent enough goal scorer to win Arsenal the league. So do we still need a striker? Yes, we do. But big up Eddie Nketiah today for his performance. And yeah, like I say, Tel, it's Sheffield United, so I'm not going to get too overexcited. I believe they've scored. I believe they conceded 29 goals in their first 9 games of this season. Do you know what I mean? So we should be battering them, and like Saul said,
Yeah,
it's
goal
goal difference is going to be a big factor potentially in this title race. So it's good to get 5 goals against them today.
I hear that. I want to throw this to Nathan and Egal. Is it fair to say it's just Sheffield United when Spurs struggled to beat them, United struggled to beat them, City struggled to beat them? Or is it fair to say that you should always be putting 4 or 5 goals past teams like Sheffield United and you shouldn't maybe over-celebrate it? Like, what's your take on that, Nath?
For me, I don't show disrespect in that kind of way because you see it in football all the time. You can get humbled by any team. You know, it happens all the time. Unlucky penalty, unlucky referee decision, and it can completely change the momentum of a game. So for me, it's all about the 3 points. For me, as bad as Sheffield United have been throughout the season, they still put up decent performances against City at home. They gave United a tough game. They gave Tottenham a tough game. So you can't really walk into it expecting to put 4 or 5. You'd hope for us to, you know, flex our muscles and show what we're really about. But I don't think you can have that sort of arrogance to kind of walk in. And that's something that I see a lot online with a lot of Arsenal fans is we have this arrogance. We're going to pump this team 5-0 or this team 6-0. And it's like, look, let's just get the result. Let's just focus on chalking up the W's and getting them on the board because that's all that matters. You know, we're trying to move towards a league title. So for me personally, I just care about the 3 points in any way, whether that be a 1-0. I'm more grateful that it was a comfortable 5-0 where we showed and exerted a lot of control and the football show was better than we've seen previously. But I don't like to disrespect my opponents.
How about yourself, Egal? Like you kind of said earlier that like it was more of a difficult game than maybe people are making out, or do you think what Brandon's saying is fair?
No, Terry, it wasn't difficult. We bust that game. We bust that game. Let's not make it seem like Sheffield United had any opportunities, but at the same time, we give our boys credit. I don't think it's a thing where you belittle your opponent and you say, "Oh, Sheffield United are trash" or anything like that. They are the worst team in the league, but it's on us to perform well. We needed a performance. This game, it's always about the 3 points, but the performances this season is why people have been critical about Arsenal. And a performance like this can sometimes get you going, get the goals going, and it can really boost the numbers because the underlying numbers have not been good for Arsenal when it comes to our attacking end of the attacking end this season. Putting 5 past Sheffield United today kind of puts that on the back burner because we're now up there with the goal tallies this season. We're, as I said, we're tied on goal difference for the best goal difference in the league. So it's like that is as crucial as the 3 points in my opinion. And it doesn't matter if it was Sheffield United. It doesn't matter if it's anybody. We needed to see better performances offensively, and to see that when we've rotated is very good for the squad harmony, and it's very good for us going through the season. Because if we couldn't do rotation against Sheffield United, I don't know when we would have been able to do rotation.
I think the bigger thing is we beat a team that's going to play a low block against us, because that's typically where we struggle, and we typically only beat those teams like 1-0, 2-1, like a lot of teams have against Sheffield. And I think that's the positive sign for us, that we are able to beat the teams that come for us, but also the teams that want to sit back, have 10 men behind the ball, and just want to crowd out the box and find different ways of playing. You know, today we've seen it. You know, we went wide. We were able to go inside, go in the middle, control it all, and actually find different ways of scoring. You know, Eddie Nketiah, obviously, for the first time outside of the box, he actually managed to score, but also from corners, we're starting to score again. So, and defensively as well, we're resolute. You know, they tried to counter us. They actually lost confidence in actually doing anything. Because when you looked at the first half, I thought, yeah, this is going to be another 1-0, maybe a 2-0, maybe we slip up and do 2-1. But no, we came out and we went firing, because normally we'd go into our shells and we'd start playing a defensive masterclass at 1-0, or start showboating and, you know, showing a bit too much confidence against the team. But today it was resolute. We had one task on our minds, which was just absolutely go there and put a statement performance out. And that's what we did. And that's all you can say. It's one game at a time. We've got Newcastle next week. We needed to win this game, because next week could be a draw. It could be a loss. And we've got to get the points where we need them.
I just want to say this.
Yeah, one thing
we need to have a little bit more patience, because as a team, we've seen that this season, the way that we start games is not necessarily how we finish teams off. Because last year we would finish teams off in the first couple of minutes, and then as the game grows, we're more and more losing control of the game. Now it's the opposite. We grow into games. We start off quite like cagey, and then as the game goes, we get more and more control of the game, and by the time the game is done, it's like you just know we're going to win this game, and there's no real opportunities from the opponent. Where last year we might have been getting more points, but our control of the games has not been as controlling as it has been in some of these games this season.
One thing I do want to touch on as well is the not conceding at home. So, like, prior to this, I think it was only City where we managed to shut out to keep a clean sheet. So for me, I thought that was it was nice to see us finally getting a clean sheet at home. In addition to that, it was finally nice to see Raya have a solid game, and then there be no kind of talk about Ramsdale after the game, because there was no moments in there where he did anything of any note that would make any fan think otherwise. In fact, there was actually 2 pieces of distribution where he released Martinelli on the left-hand side on the counter after collecting the ball, which was brilliant to kind of set us going forward. So it was nice in that regards to walk away from a game for once, for the first time in a little while, and not have too much negative to say or too much concern.
Yeah, and there's no controversy. We got a hat trick from Eddie Nketiah. Fabio Vieira scored a goal, and congratulations to him and his missus, as he did do a baby celebration. And also, Tomi Asu scoring his first goal. He's been outstanding lately, and for him to not start this game and come on, he's just being a super sub, and he's doing his job and his role perfectly. And Brendan, people were calling you out earlier. I think you owe Tomi Asu an apology, bro. This guy's a baller, man.
I apologized years ago, bro. I did.
Yeah, in fairness to Brandon, he actually, it was even before the end of last season, Brandon did come out and say he's actually a lot better than I thought he was.
I
remember the arguments we had about Emerson and Tomi Asu. It was the funniest time as an Arsenal fan.
Just so everybody can hear it, I apologise, Tomi Asu. Tomi Asu is definitely not the Japanese Bellerin, that's for sure.
He's definitely better than Bellerin. Ironically, he doesn't pass. He's not as good as on the eye test as Bellerin, but he's a better football player than Bellerin, because the eye test is extremely subjective. Some super chats here. This is Raya's distribution today was top class, fair play. Would you all agree with that?
100% massively improved.
That ball to Martinelli was class. I think when he was taking that goal kick, I think it was in a corner or something like that, he just passed it to Martinelli. Martinelli went forward and then discussed the chance. But yeah, there's quite a few chance creations that he done as well. Really good.
The thing is I wouldn't read into it too much, because he didn't really have anything to do today, Raya.
Yeah,
you know, he wasn't put.
But his distribution's been dodgy.
Yeah,
but it's been better today.
Yeah, but your distribution is always going to be better when you haven't got players pressuring you on the ball. Do you know what I mean? Like when you've got teams that are trying to press you high, that's when I find like he struggles a little bit. He did against City, he did against Chelsea, but today Sheffield didn't even press at all. You know what I mean?
But don't you think it's nice to actually see the quality of his distribution, because we've yet to see that so far in Arsenal shirt, and that's been a big debate for why fans have been questioning why Ramsdale's been dropped, because we haven't seen much of a difference between the two. So to actually see some of the qualities and why maybe Raya has started is nice for a change, because I don't think that's been the case.
What about Emil Smith-Rowe's performance, guys? I thought it was nice to see him play for the first time in a long time and start a game. Like, he obviously, for a guy who's been rusty, he didn't look that bad in my opinion.
No, he wasn't bad. He wasn't actually bad. He set it up the third goal, actually. Second or third goal. He got one assist anyway. I think he's getting into his rhythm. I just feel like he needs to play on a consistent run of games. League Cup, he should be starting against West Ham. He should be like getting his sets down and get his mark over the line.
If I'm to be honest, I didn't think Emil Smith-Rowe or Havertz, the 2/8s, were particularly impressive. I don't think they were.
I don't think Havertz was impressive. I don't think he played well.
But I felt like other players kind of outshone them and kind of did more. You saw Zinchenko have a bit more of an influence that game, kind of inverting, and it was a bit more Zinchenko of last season as opposed to this season.
No, I kind of disagree, right? Because the 2/8s had a specific role to play. Because if it wasn't for the 2/8s actually being any sort of a threat, dragging players away, the wider players would have had more to deal with. It's how you use your players and how you move them is how they get to how you can create space off the ball. And I think that's what happened. ESR and Havertz had to have a quiet game today for Martinelli and Saka to be able to do what they did. And that's just how I see it. And I think they've done it perfectly. Every time they came on the ball, they did something positive. And that's what you need to do. Gain respect from your opponents. And then, you can draw players out. And that's just what I've seen from it today.
I think these kind of games are the perfect games for Zinchenko. Like, the games when we face the top teams, he can help us obviously gain control of the game, but we're going to be facing a lot more problems defensively. And those games, I'd prefer Tomiyasu. But games like this, where we face Sheffield United, where we face teams lower down the table, he's going to have a lot more freedom in that role that he has, and he's going to be more in the midfield. And today, I even seen him popping up on the right flank, linking up with Bukayo Saka. So it's like, I love these kind of performance from him.
I got a question for you, actually. So in terms of, I know Zinchenko, you said that playing in the big games, right? Like, obviously drop him off to the big games, but would you ever consider put Tomiyasu at left back and then put Zini like in centre mid?
The thing is, Mikel Arteta hasn't done it once in his year and a half having him at Arsenal. So I don't think he's just gonna all of a sudden just start experimenting unless there's a massive injury. Let's be honest, Mikel Arteta makes it pretty obvious if he's gonna utilize you in a role, he's gonna test you out there, and he's never tested him out there. I think at this point, there's more likelihood that we're going to see him continue to play at left back than we will ever see him in the midfield, unless there's an injury crisis.
I think he's got to make an adjustment in some ways. It's not identical situation. It's the same situation as Trent. The solution may not be the same. The solution for Liverpool is typically Trent pushes into the midfield and somebody else somewhere drops back in, or the midfield or the centre back moves across and the DM drops back. And maybe that's what you got to do. Maybe it's a case of if Zinchenko plays, say Declan Rice in that DM role, he almost drops back into a sort of centre back role, which he can play. And it's Gabriel, when he's normally the guy that plays, moves across into that position, so he covers it defensively. Because as soon as Liverpool did that, Trent's deficiencies defensively have almost been nullified. And I think that's the one area for your manager that he's got to get right, is how do I utilize the brilliant ball playing ability of Zinchenko, but don't leave a massive gap, a massive chink in our armor that can be exposed on the counter. And I think if and when he gets that right, and sometimes look how long it took Klopp, who's considered world-class, to get it right with Trent. It does take time. So I think he will adapt at some point. But games like today, I think you're spot on, mate. You need to start these matches because you're not going to be attacked too much. This here from Lee Lin says, nice to see second team players, my brain went, showing hunger and desire. Was a chance for Havertz, had to perform. He played well, but needed to show more. Yeah, what did you all think? What did you think, Brandon, of Kai Havertz today?
I don't know really, Tel. He's a weird one to kind of judge because he's never really been that kind of explosive player or anything like that. He's more about the movement and the passing than that, which I thought in the first half was very slow, lethargic, kind of backwards, sideways sort of thing that we tend to see from Arsenal like at the moment. But apart from that, like, did he stand out today? No, I don't think he did. Because Eddie Nketiah and a few other players stood out more than what he did. But who cares? We won. Do you know what I mean? Who cares?
Yeah, no, I hear you on that. So go on, Egal.
I just wanted to give Mikel Arteta a shout out because I feel like he didn't do this last year. He played the same players in every game and caused some burnout. it's already early in the season, and we're seeing him make rotations, make big calls, like dropping Gabriel Magalhaes and Odegaard in this game, and us not actually looking any worse. Like, our defense didn't drop off, our creativity was still there, and I know he's not going to be able to do it in every game, but I feel like he did a good job managing this game and utilizing his squad.
Bro, again, I go back to the beginning of the season, and sometimes I do think the criticism of Arteta is weird. I get the performance, some of it's weird. Like Gabriel not starting the season. You're winning games and everyone's kicking off. Well, maybe he's not fit. Maybe he wants to give other people opportunities. Maybe the idea of giving Kivior a game today is it's better to keep giving these individuals games every now and then, so that if in 3 months when they have to come in because of an injury, they are not stone cold, starting flat-footed, not match fit and underperforming. Plus, you want to keep players fresh. And it's interesting. That's the one thing I'd say about the criticism of Arteta, that as a neutral looking, I think it's unfair, is when he doesn't rotate, he's criticised. When he rotates, he's criticised. You can't, for me personally, you can't, especially when you know the players that you're bringing in via rotation are not as good. It's really strange to me that I don't know, it's like you expect him to do it, and then when he does it and the team, even if it's winning, isn't quite as good, which is normal, there's a kickoff. It feels a little bit over the top and forced for me.
Can I just touch on Arteta as well? Because I feel like even his man management was better today in terms of, I was happy to see Martinelli being taken off and Saka being taken off a little bit earlier, giving them a rest, which, has been a huge thing within the fan base, what we've been criticising, because we feel like sometimes he overplays or leaves them on when the games are won. The only slight criticism I'd say was maybe not giving Declan Rice a rest, but then he might be rested altogether in the West Ham game midweek. But just in general, and giving fringe players some minutes, given the likes of Reece Nelson and whatnot, some minutes to come on and show what they can do. It was nice, because over the course of a season, you need your whole squad to compete, and there's going to be games, as you mentioned, where players will come in and come out of the squad, and even Kirill today, who was, in my opinion, quite solid and a lot more comfortable on the board than, say, Gabriel, maybe not as solid defensively or physically imposing, but technically a better passer, a bit more comfortable. And I feel like that's a side of his game that we're slowly starting to see grow, Mikel Arteta, in terms of how to best manage this squad and our team. Yeah.
I think you're right, and I think it's an area where, as you say, nothing's ever going to be perfect. And it's the strangest thing is, there's a few people I'm not going to show their stuff today. I'm going to do it on a fan channel review tomorrow. I've seen their tweets. The demand you win this well, but at the same time say you're rubbish. That's what, there's an Arsenal fan I follow who've been tweeting for months now, we're going to do nothing in the Champions League. Then when you lose in the Champions League, he says we should be smashing these teams. I'm like, well, you can't say that. And that's what I mean by this criticism of Arteta. There's almost this element of, you say he doesn't do X, Y, and Z, and then when he does it, you moan that he's doing it. It's very strange to me. Some more super chats here. I want to do
me, by the way.
If it was you,
people who think it might be me, it's not me.
I'm talking about just people online. I'm not gonna. Most of them, I'm not gonna give any relevance to them by using their names. But it's just
I
so
said Arsenal can win the Champions League. By the way, I did say that.
I know. Emil Smith-Rowe and Kai allowed all three players up front to flow. Good point. Zinni ain't got the physicality to play left central midfield. Also, someone who excels in the first phase. Mikel Arteta won't take him out of his comfort zone. Not many better in the build-up. It's a fair point. This year says it's a bit unrelated, but Odegaard has been playing with an injury in recent weeks. Could explain he's regressed. Yeah, I mean, it certainly can. But what I would say to people is this. In 2023, and it's gone on for about 3 years now, the idea of playing with an injury is not new. So I remember when Rashford was doing it, and it was like, now if Rashford plays injured, he's criticised. But back then it was used as a tool to beat Ollie with. This is a disgrace. And one thing that's weird, in all the interviews I've seen with pro footballers since then, why the journalists are not asking the question, is it normal to play with injuries? Because the answer is yes. Most footballers, most fighters, most athletes do not compete, do not fight, do not play without injuries. They're par for the course. So it's probably part of the reason. But also, he's just going for a bad pat. Like Akam Drazer, the most simple explanation is normally the truth. He's just in bad form. And sometimes playing people through bad form that doesn't help them at all. And it was right to rest him today, and it ended up being the correct decision. In Nketiah's defense league, we're back up. People were crying when they saw the lineup. That was a game we should be winning regardless of who is up top. It's true. Debbie here, commiserations, Debbie, as a Barca fan. It says, I'm not going to be mad, but I wish Barca won the game. Kudos to Jude Bellingham. Listen, it's surely Gunner's having a double celebration today with Barca losing as well, because we know he's got a thing for them. Brandon is better than Shower Odegaard song Rory. Oh,
come on.
Yeah, Rory made up a song about Odegaard in the shower, apparently.
Love it.
You know, he'll be very disappointed that he was dropped.
Sing in the shower, though.
I don't mind a sing in the shower, but I don't make up songs about footballers in the shower. That's a bit weird, isn't it?
That's strange.
So I don't really think it is. I do a lot of thinking in the shower. I shower. Maybe I'm weird. I shower for about 15 to 20 minutes straight. I just stand in the water for like 15 to 20 minutes. They say that showering is better, like less water. It's not. I use more water in my shower than when I bath. Like legit, I just stand under it, like stinking hot for like 20 minutes. So I think about a lot of stuff. Never you though, Brenda. Never thought about you in the shower. So I'll let you know that. I never thought about you.
That's probably a good thing, mate.
Great display. If only we turned up earlier this season before Spurs won the league. I like it. Edia's first hat trick. Wow. Rice. Very nice is what AMT says. A solid Arsenal win. I think Tomiyasu needs to start more games. And also Bellingham is him. A great birthday weekend of football. Cheers, boys. Yeah, I mean, do you guys think Tomiyasu should be starting more games?
100%. This guy has been classed throughout the whole season. Like, he hasn't put a foot wrong. Especially, like, it's good to see him getting that first goal as well. And the performances against Sevilla and Man City when he came on, he tends to solidify games as well. And I felt like, sometimes some games, I know Zinchenko played quite well today, but in other games, he's been a bit sloppy. But I felt like he can add that defensive stability as well and good going forward. And he can also invert as well. So, yeah, why not? He's been one of our players of the season so far.
I hear you there. This is great title credentials when you can rotate and still build goal difference for a prolonged title challenge. Do you agree with that, Nath? In terms of today, for me, I said it in the video earlier. I paraphrase what I said, but I feel like Arsenal are title charge ready. I do believe you are building up a foundation for that title race.
Yes, well, I do think to an extent. I'm still trying to keep grounded. I don't want to get too excited. I need to see more of a sample size because the performances haven't been what I'd have expected, and there's still things that need to click. But in terms of rotations, bringing in players, I mean, I've always said I've never really been a big fan of Eddie. But if there is a game in which you want him to play, these are the games where he does shine against the lesser teams in the league. It's the games where we struggle with Eddie have always been against top opposition. So when you're playing against the lesser sides, you must be able to rotate. You must if you want to be a top team, you must be able to drop 2, 3, 4 players and be able to still perform at a level and still get 3 points, because that's what the best Man United teams of past and Arsenal teams and City teams do. So it's no different here. So that's promising in that regards. But I'm still keeping grounded in regards to the title charge until more games have been played.
Do you agree with that, Bram?
Yeah, I think, like I say, like he said, it's too much of a small sample size. It's only 9, 10 games. There's still a long way to go in the season. There's still a lot of football to be played, and yeah, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and start getting all excited because we're picking up points and that, even though we're performing not that great. Because I'm not a Spurs fan, I don't think I've won the league in the space of 9 games. So it is what it is, bro. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. Do you know what? I understand where you're both coming from. I suppose, again, I maybe because I'm not emotional about it, and it doesn't matter to me whether you challenge for the title or not. Maybe it's an easier thing for me to look at. But my view is, if I look at what you did last year, the last 6 months of the previous season, coupled with what we've seen so far this year, I just look at that body of work, and I it's almost like I'm not looking at this season in isolation. Of course, catastrophe, good strike. and you lose Rice, you lose Saka, you lose Saliba for the season. And then my mind would change, because that's such a significant damage to your squad that the opinions about what it will deliver will change. The same as if Haaland and Rodri and Edison were now going to miss the entire season. Suddenly, some people may not fancy them to win the league. So it's the same difference. But I look at the body of work over the almost 2-year period now and think to myself, I'm not just looking at this season in isolation. I know how much better you can play, because for over 2 seasons now, you've done it on a number of occasions. I believe you're becoming a stronger side. Your younger players are getting older. And the fact that you've started the season off in a similar fashion to last year, in terms of results, you're in the next round of the League Cup. You've won 2 games in the Champions League, including a tough away game at Sevilla. I just look at you as being a better team this year. You haven't been as beautiful to watch. You haven't been as exhilarating, but I believe that's coming later. I believe the way you've started, there's an irony to this, is I believe it's another thing that Arteta's learned from Pep. You don't need to start your team off in the beginning of the season running around a million miles an hour, burning themselves out, because it's a marathon and not a sprint. So I get where you're both coming from. I suppose I'm looking at it from, it's like with City. We all know City are in the title race now. Why? Based on what we know about them. Does that make sense? And I just think you guys, they're still my favourites to win it, but I think Arsenal will be there or thereabouts this year. I really do.
You know what it is, Terry? I think if we'd had maybe another title charge before this, then it'd be like a Liverpool, for instance. It would be a lot easier for me to sit here and be like, we're in a title challenge, like we can do it. However, because we've only done it once, and I've seen, you know, Liverpool almost go to win the title and then fall off, you know, considerably the next year. So I'm just trying to keep grounded in terms of expectations. I need the team to prove that last season that they can match or even better what they've done last season before I start expecting it, because it hasn't been done. We haven't reached that level consistently over a prolonged period of time.
I agree. I mean, this is meant to be a dig at me. It says, you said that last year, Terry. Yeah, I said Arsenal would become title challengers last year. And we were. They did. I got my over in the end. Come January, when I said I think they might win the league now, I ended up getting that wrong. But at the end of the day, like, this Arsenal team are good, and I think they're good. And there are people out there saying I've got too much passion for them. It isn't about having passion for Arsenal. It's about having conviction in my opinions. And I'm as passionate about my opinions of Arsenal as I am about my opinions on Liverpool or Spurs or any opinion I have in this world. It's because it's something I believe in and it's important.
Mystic Terry.
Imagine me sitting here hosting a show saying, yeah, I think Arsenal do really well. Yeah, Tottenham are playing great, aren't they? Oh, City, best team in the world. If I allowed my true fan emotions to dictate how I behave professionally, that's how I would be. But I can't. Host of a show. Got to put a bit of enthusiasm and oomph into it. Maybe that's why, you know, I'm not too sure about you, MJ, but maybe that's why you ain't a success in your life. Maybe you're too morbid. Maybe you let your feelings and emotions dictate how you behave. That's just crazy. It's crazy. It says here, when other teams like Liverpool, Chelsea, United, Spurs win, he says, good win. Go and watch my reactions to Man United wins. And if you try and compare them to the way I react to an Arsenal win, you're looking silly. Look how I've not celebrated, but praised Liverpool in the past. And I played a clip on a previous show of me calling them the best team in the world. Chelsea, when they were doing very, very well, the same thing. And I've been praising Spurs of late. Really praising Spurs, telling people not to have a go at them for celebrating. So, MJ, you are so wrong. It's unbelievable, my friend. You've done yourself. I do hope that your girlfriend's not watching, because she'll be leaving. She'll be leaving you. She'll be like, oh, look what you've done, I'll be your name probably MJ anyway. But anyway, we move. Buy my striker Ivan Toney to Arsenal. That could be a game changer. Jimmy here Jim as a Spurs fan says, as a Spurs fan, I really wanted Arsenal to lose, but it was a decisive, I think he means, win. Sorry, deserved win. Meanwhile, Chelsea and Poch are trying to cut steak with a butter knife. Clowns. Yeah, what a difference a week makes between the two teams, really. It's crazy. It's crazy.
You know what was interesting, Terry? I've been watching a few of your shows, and I've been seeing a lot of the Chelsea people talking about midfields being better and all this kind of talk. And then a week later, are we now going to say Brentford's midfield is better because they've won, or because they've had a better game? And I just think, like, people need to just kind of slow down, because you know, you get too excited too quickly and you start talking a lot of shit. And it's like, you haven't done anything yet. You drew essentially 2-2 with Arsenal, and it was a good performance by itself. But actually do something before, you know, putting your midfield up on some, you know, pedestal of being, you know, this brilliant thing because you've dropped points, you've lost to Brentford. I think this is the third time that you've lost to Brentford in a row.
Bro, I want to say this. I want to defend Chelsea fans a little bit on this, though. I get where you're coming from as a gooner, 100%. Where I'm going to defend them is they were let down by their team today because they played well enough to win the game and the players didn't score. So all that, this is what happens. Your team can let you down. All that about. That's why I've seen over the years of doing this. So certain people come out and maybe their club gets a new manager and they go out on the offensive and they attack everybody else's manager saying, my manager this. And then that manager flops and they're the first ones to turn. And these Chelsea fans that came out all week just for their team to mess up, I do feel a bit sorry for them, really. Debbie here says, I hope your team wins, but it's unlikely. Thank you, Debbie. I appreciate that, my lovely. If Tommy is not injured, he is immaculate. He has been recently, there's no doubt. Eddie's third goal was mustard. I love that expression, mustard. Has Sav stopped crying yet? Sav weren't crying. He just got heated. Heated debate. It's all good fun. Hat trick, but fans will forget Eddie's 5 goals in 30 appearances. Do you know what I would say, Tito? No one on this stream has. Everybody, I think everybody's been very consistent with saying, well done, so happy, what a performance, but do more. And I think that's fair. Big up Terry, and my Gunners panel is from Pete, top man Pete. And Sheffield has no value or meaning. It's a worthless result. You might as well have not done it. You might as well not be happy. Oh, here's Kate. What's Kate saying? Kate says, concerning for me, Arsenal comfortably out 5 past Sheffield United, and we just scraped a win. I think you're an Arsenal fan, Kate. I think you're being an Arsenal fan there. Go down the road. Go down the road to the Emirates.
Stop being so negative, Kate. Stop it.
Hope that you're good. Listen, I want to thank everybody that's come on today. I'm off to an Halloween party, so I've got to go. I'm going as the guy from, I don't know his name. I'm going as the guy from V for Vendetta. That's
I thought you were just going to say you.
I've even bought a wig, like a long-haired wig to wear.
I thought you was going to say you was going as Lee Gunner.
No, I wouldn't do that. It was either that or I was looking for a Michael Jackson costume, but all the red leather jackets, like the thriller ones, there's the really nice ones are like 400 quid. And I'm not spending £400 on a fancy dress outfit because that's just a waste of money. But listen, I want to thank everybody that has tuned in. Hit like buttons before you leave. Subscribe to The Terrace. Turn on bell notifications. We're back tomorrow, of course, with Fan Channel Review. And then we won't be doing a match reaction after Liverpool because it literally ends when the Man United game kicks off. In fact, it will overlap because of time added on and stuff. So we'll be live after the Manchester United game tomorrow as well. Take care. Goodbye. God bless.